On Project WA, stealing food but never full. The eating disorder wrecking WA lives.
Savage killers or deeply misunderstood. Why birds of prey are in danger from us.
And what are these favourite 7 personalities doing now?
Hello and welcome to the first of 2 editions of Project WA.
We hope you'll enjoy the stories made by the 3rd year broadcasting students at Edith Cowan University.
Imagine no matter what you eat, you're never full. That's the reality for those suffering a genetic addiction.
Ellie Matthews explains about one young WA girl with this rare condition, a story she's uniquely placed to tell.
How much of this chicken are you going to have? Do you want a wing or do you want... I was taken in a room by myself and told that she had Prader-Willi syndrome, that as I had 3 other children, I should focus on them and institutionalise her because they were the children that had potential.
And how did that make you feel?
It made me want to take her and run. I was devastated.
This is Bridget. She's 15, but she's not your average teenager.
No, that's all you're having, so hop out. No, Bridget, get out.
Bridget isn't being naughty. It's all to do with a condition she was born with.
Broccoli for me, that for me.
I've been nothing for you. You know why?
What?
Because for the 5th time I'm asking you, can you get out of the kitchen, please?
Jane is a single mother of 4 from Armidale. Bridget is her youngest.
She's always thinking about the next meal. She's always looking for avenues to access food. It's like a constant food war, and we are the soldiers trying to battle it for her.
Bridget is my sister. She was born with Prader-Willi syndrome, a rare disorder that affects 1 in around 15,000. The fridge and cupboards in our house are locked, money is watched, and Bridget is kept under close surveillance.
Bridget will access food very quickly and slyly. If she feels she's about to be caught, she'll stash it.
So we have a huge amount of food debris, usually underneath the lounge and the lounge cushions where she's hidden food.
Their sense of fullness of having completed a meal so they feel actually full and don't want to eat anymore is not there.
Dr. Kathy Chung has been treating Bridget for 10 years.
And it's thought potentially that it originates from the effects of the genetic condition on the brain in an area called the hypothalamus.
The hypothalamus is a complex part of the brain that influences the way our body manages diet and how it moves energy around the body.
The biggest fear I have is what's going to happen to her when I'm gone.
Bridget's need for surveillance, locking away food and dealing with daily tantrums is stressful, but we manage.
Most of us head to Broome for a wonderful holiday experience, but graduating pilots have a different agenda.
Young pilots need regional hours before they can advance to bigger planes. But as Emily Evans found out, our Northwest provides potentially life-threatening challenges.
For me, it would be the challenge. I get a lot of self-satisfaction on the days that are harder. I mean, when you do get back and, you know, you've done everything to your best and it worked out.
Broome has been Tyler Parmentier's gateway into aviation, an industry that is not as glamorous as some think.
Clear, prop. That is assumed, but fairly quickly when they see the planes and they, I don't know, experience up here, I think everybody has some sort of appreciation of what we do.
Weather conditions in the Kimberley region can cause flooded roads which cut off communities.
Come the wet season, we're pretty much their lifeline. The only way to get any sort of supplies in and out are basically by air. A lot of the roads or the tracks leading into these communities, once they have any sort of rain on, they're impassable by vehicles.
It's crazy, especially when you've seen it in the dry season, I think. To see the change, yeah, it just solidifies how rapid the weather is up here.
For pilots, the risks are extreme. One decision can make the difference between life or death.
Weather appreciation's a big thing, particularly coming into the wet season with the thunderstorms.
I mean, to an extent, you know how to do everything, but it's definitely the first time that you practice it. Like instructors down in Perth, they're very, very, very picky with weather, so if there's clouds, you don't go. Whereas up here, if it's legal, you will be going.
And don't be fooled by his youth, Tyler is a qualified commercial pilot.
Everybody brings it up, yeah, especially because I look about 12 years old, which doesn't help. It helps when they see all the other pilots though. I mean, the whole group of us generally are pretty young.
However, the training in Perth doesn't prepare pilots for the severe conditions found across Australia.
We have to do additional training with them. Something as simple as operating onto gravel strips, which we do a lot up here. They typically haven't had a lot of exposure to that, so we're having to spend time with them on that side of it as well. We don't let these pilots go out until we're 100% confident that they can do the job safely.
You're always proud of yourself, like at the end of the day, passengers are happy or you made the safest choices. For me, that's it. Yeah, the most rewarding thing.
Coming up, the campaign to protect these birds of prey.
They're known as chicken hawks, and farmers have been encouraged to shoot them out of our skies.
But as Louise Allingham found out, these birds of prey are not the threat that some believe.
In Western Australia, we are fortunate enough to have an abundance of Indigenous birds of prey. A diverse collection of owls, falcons, hawks and eagles choose our state to call home. However, their numbers are dwindling. Working to preserve Australia's raptors is Eagles Heritage Wildlife Park in Margaret River.
Eagles Heritage is a raptor wildlife centre. Primarily it's the largest rehabilitation centre for injured birds of prey in Australia. But it's also an educational facility, and we also do endangered species breeding.
Most of the birds on display at Eagles Heritage are either being rehabilitated or are unable to be released back into the wild.
Meet Ivy. Ivy's a barn owl, and unlike the other birds in this sanctuary, she was specifically raised to educate people on birds of prey.
Ivy is one of the main stars of the Twice Daily Bird Show, hosted by Philip Payne. His main mission? To teach visitors about the importance of protecting our native raptors.
Now, unfortunately, in this country, our birds of prey are still misunderstood and consequently still persecuted. We shot and killed over 1 million wedge-tailed eagles in this country under a government-funded bounty system that lasted over 50 years.
It is no longer legal to kill birds of prey in Western Australia, but damage licences may be issued to farmers to scare them away from livestock.
Lots of people will see, particularly around chook pens, little birds of prey hovering, what we call kestrels and black-shouldered kites. Now those birds are there to eat the mice that come in to eat the chook food. But people say, oh, it's a chicken hawk. So they get the gun out and they shoot it, which is completely illegal.
Payne continues his fight in conserving WA's birds of prey. He considers them to be the most important part of our ecosystem.
Well, your birds of prey are at the top of the food chain. They're the cleaners and caretakers of your environment. If you lose your birds of prey, you lose the only natural cleaners and caretakers. So your birds of prey actually control the balance of nature. They're the most important thing in your environment, the carnivores.
Back in 1990, many in Perth were sad when a popular water park shut its doors for the final time.
But as Ben Morgan reports, the lost park of Atlantis may be rediscovered.
King Neptune has been looking down upon his kingdom in the heart of Two Rocks for nearly 35 years. Though it's hard to believe looking at it now, this was once one of WA's top tourist destinations.
Over 400,000 people have already been thrilled by the greatest spectacle.
Atlantis Marine Park first opened its doors on Boxing Day, 1981.
Well, it met with the most enormous response when it first opened. Approximately 420,000 people visited the park in the first 5 months of existence.
Queues and queues of cars. You couldn't get home if you lived the other end of the town.
The park featured many attractions, including an aquarium, a water fun park, a rowing lake, and a large range of marine wildlife. But the most popular of these attractions were the dolphins.
The dolphins were extremely intelligent animals and extremely agile and powerful animals. To see some of the things they could do was just amazing.
The performance with the dolphins was spectacular.
Tragedy struck the park in 1986 when one of the sea lions contracted tuberculosis and the government ordered that they all be put down.
It was really heartbreaking when they got put down and a few others got put down. It was, in fact, most of them came out negative for tuberculosis.
The saddest part of that was, for me, was Cindy, who was my sea lion that I'd been training up, and she, when we did the autopsy down there, it found that she was pregnant. She had a well-developed fetus, which we weren't aware of.
By the late 80s, financial problems, pressure from animal rights groups, and a change in regulation regarding the size of the dolphin pool started to take its toll on the park.
Either they were going to have to increase the size of it, of the pool and so on, or they were going to have to let the whole thing go. And in the end they did.
Nowadays this site is abandoned and overgrown and has developed an eerie, sombre atmosphere.
God, it was like walking to a ghost town.
But this may soon change, with the City of Wanneroo approving plans to redevelop the area.
The City endorsed a structure plan in 2010, looking at entertainment, commercial and retail viability. However, it's important that King Neptune is retained because the iconic status of the statue.
I think about Atlantis every day of my life, and as soon as I start thinking about it, I smile.
Up next, the new WA holiday destination, why we're being told to head east.
Welcome back to Project WA, made by ECU broadcasting students and members of the WA Screen Academy.
Are you bored with going to the same old holiday resorts? Looking for something different?
How about a land full of Eastern promise, just an hour away from Perth? Francesca Mann has more.
Open skies, rolling greens, historic buildings and friendly locals. This isn't Europe. It's located right under our noses and is closer to Perth than Margaret River.
And the fantastic thing is that you can get to the edge of the Wheatbelt within an hour's drive.
Despite being home to 72,000 people and covering an area that's twice the size of Tasmania, the Wheatbelt is often overlooked by tourists.
Part of the allure of the Wheatbelt is you just don't know it exists. It's right here. It's right here. You don't have to travel the world.
And there's more to the Wheatbelt than wheat. Everything from fish farms outside of Tamman, a motor park in Wild Catcham, obscure museums in Toodyay, award-winning livestock, and friendly people everywhere.
In a way to get more visitors, the Wheatbelt is trialling a model where tourists are invited to live like a local. It's all about diving in and soaking up everything this relatively unknown side of WA has to offer.
You get to meet the person who grew the wheat. He makes it into a product that's available for retail, and then he shows you, right, this sort of flour comes from this crop.
This attempt to increase tourism follows a successful Canadian example and is also an opportunity for farmers to increase profits.
It's quite only small differences to make on the already existing infrastructure and the already existing farming practices. You tweak a couple of things and you market it right, you can create some pretty amazing experiences.
Ben recently trialled a Wheatbelt tour where visitors enjoyed an authentic country experience.
People get the chance to do things that the local people in those communities are doing on a day-to-day basis. There's not much awareness of what is actually out there.
Running over a few days, the tour means visitors don't miss out on anything this part of the world has to offer. But it's not all about the scenery and attractions. This area's main industries, farming and agriculture, help keep WA's economy running.
It's educational, so people hopefully will go away with a better concept of handling stock and how they're handled and know that things aren't all bad out in the country.
Ben hopes one day the Wheatbelt will be top of the list for tourist destinations.
We really think that it's that good. All you have to do is dig a little bit under the surface and that's where the gold is, I suppose. You just got to take the time to check it out.
The road toll in WA is shockingly high, and yet there is a fatal affliction that causes just as much heartbreak.
The silent killer affects a large number of men, yet is rarely spoken about, until now. Brianna Shepherd has more.
It's not a taboo subject. It is a common day, every place occurrence that happens.
It's not all rainbows for people all the time, especially men.
If you have either had a personal experience with suicide or you've been impacted through your friends, family or work colleagues, can you please raise your hand?
Perth businessman Tim Guest believes we need to screw the taboo around suicide.
We're too scared to talk about it. And do you know what? We can't afford to be scared any longer.
The message is simple. Talking about it doesn't cause it, but it might prevent it.
Most of the times it's about being alone, about being isolated, about not being understood.
My burns happened 11 years ago. It was a suicide attempt.
Grazie Lisciotto is a burn survivor. He started special retreats in WA for people like himself that Samantha now run.
You know, we have to step up. The ones who suffer, not think about being judged. It's pointless what other people think of you is what you think of yourself.
Screw the Taboo began on social media. People posted photos online and encouraged their friends to do the same. Now, though, it's taken on a life of its own.
In 6 weeks, it grew from this to this.
Screw the Taboo is the opportunity to empower people spread their message.
Do you still miss him?
Yeah, every day. Rebecca Wilkinson lost her best friend when they were both just 15 years old.
Being a male, he was the funny kid in class, you know, always the one cracking jokes, but going through a hard time and no one knew about that.
His death sent her into darkness. She suffered in silence for years. Rebecca found working out and speaking out helped her to recover.
If we talk about things and not hide away, it just makes that situation a little bit easier.
And she's not alone. The people involved in this campaign hope talking about this tough topic might be enough to prevent tragedy.
I really just want those people who think they don't have a voice to be given one.
Ultimately, I want to change the way we talk about suicide.
The one person you'll turn to and ask, are you okay, may be that one person's life you save.
If you are doing it tough, put your hand up, don't be embarrassed. There's a lot of us out there. I'm one of them. I'm doing okay and I'm not special, I'm just grazie.
Ahead on Project WA, we catch up with some much-loved personalities.
Project WA is featuring the work of ECU broadcasting students hoping to become the Channel 7 stars of tomorrow.
But what has happened to the station's faces of days gone by? Taylor Divatini has been finding out.
Hi, I'm Sandy Baker.
I'm Gary Carvel.
I'm Jenny Seaton.
Right, because we finally made it.
Two-time Logie winner, blonde bombshell and talented television presenter, Sandy Baker shone during her role at TVW7.
I hosted the Stars of the Future, which was a talent quest show for young people.
Today she prefers a much more laid-back lifestyle.
Not too close, too many wrinkles. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren, so I like to spend as much time as I can with them. Enjoy meeting with my friends and, yeah, life is great.
This is where most of the 7 magic happened, right here in the Dianella studios. For 55 years, it was home to Perth's top rating station. If only the walls could talk. Gary Carvol's career in the media has spanned more than 50 years.
Early life was heavily involved in football because I did a lot of football shows on Channel 7. I had an early start to both radio and television. Bit of luck, bit of cheek and a bit of opportunity, I think.
Which means take my movies and take my films, take my cameras.
These days I work for an international miner and I look for opportunities in business for him, so I'm doing things I thought I'd never ever do and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Hi everyone, welcome to the program.
Jenny Seaton has been a part of Perth media for over 30 years.
I joined Curtin about 5 years ago and I do an afternoon program here now, which involves very similar sort of style of segments that I've always done for television.
What do you do when you do that?
Jen, you flip.
I, along with all the others at the time, had just the most wonderful experience.
I have never lost control like this before in my entire life.
No, I'm holding up pretty well.
Working in commercial radio and television, you never know from one year to the next. But in saying that, since 1968, I've been lucky enough to still be involved in one way or another.
This year, your favourite station turns 55, and just like that, we blow out the candles on another fabulous year at Channel 7.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Project WA.
We'll have more stories made by the broadcasting students at ECU here on 7 tomorrow.
We'll leave you with a music video made by our colleagues at the WA Screen Academy.